So let's go ahead and get ready for our first breakout, which we've got scheduled from 9:15 to 9:55. And this is going to be on innovative fundraising. And we have two fantastic presenters, and I'm so grateful to these two Rotarians for being here to share their insights. On this panel today will be current President Lisa Scroggins, she's the president of the Casper Rotary Club, which is the big club. That's the largest club in our district in Casper, Wyoming. We're also very happy to have past president Jackie Dorothy. She's the past president of the Riverton Club in Riverton, Wyoming, and they will be our panel speakers on the topic of creative or innovative fundraising. So I'm going to turn that over to you, Lisa, and to Jackie. And good morning and welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, and thank you, District Governor Chris. You are right about some of those inspirational things you just shared. We are navigating through these challenges, and we are looking for the silver linings because we are Rotary, and together we can, right? So as Chris mentioned, I am Lisa Scroggins. I am the president of the Rotary Club of Casper, and I'm working today with a good friend of mine, Jackie.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jackie Dorothy, past president of the Riverton Club, and I'm transitioning to the Thermopolis Club with Cherie. And I'm also the public image officer or director or chair for the district. It's a very new position, and we'll be asking for some help for that in the future. So I guess we'll go ahead and plunge in. Lisa, if you want to take it away. And we do have a PowerPoint. I think, I know we can't do the screen sharing, but I was hoping maybe.
I think Kelly's got that. I think she's fixing it. There we go.
All right.
Perfect.
All right,
and so as Kelly gets that ready to go, I will just say that Jackie did, as exciting she's going to be helping with her role at the district, because she put this beautiful PowerPoint together. It is gorgeous. But I just wanted to really briefly, so if we'll go to that next slide already. Rotary opens opportunities. I love President Knopp's theme for the Rotary year, that Rotary opens opportunities, and we certainly know that it does so. And as Rotarians, we have the opportunity to help the world around us, whether it's our community on a smaller level or the entire world, that polio effort that we all work together on. And while there's a lot that we can do by the service above self, putting our hands into action, rolling up our sleeves and investing in that sweat equity, there is so much that we can accomplish that does require financing. And so fundraising is a very important part of what we do. And before we get going too far, I will say that we are going to do this presentation because we are on a tight timeline. We want to make sure that we get finished before President Knopp comes on. And so if you have any questions or comments, I'm going to encourage you to pop those into the chat. We did plan some room at the end to be able to discuss those with you. So we'll go on to the next slide.
All right, and this is where I take, let's see, just one moment, trying to see where we can see the view options. All right, so this is Know Your Why, and you want to know who are your members, who can you best help, and what are your membership goals? I'm just trying to figure something out real quick. Let me see. All right, so one of the main things is that what you want to know is who your members are and who they, what they can do. An example is in our own club, we have people that are involved with the dog shelter. And so we do a lot of things with the animals, but we also have another lady that is the director of our homeless shelter. So we end up being able to best help them because we have those that are knowledgeable about what they are doing. And so one of the things to know is as you look at your fundraisers, as you reevaluate what you're doing with your money, ask who you can best help, who your members are, who you can reach out to, and what your club's goals are. It is important to have goals for the club. So again, it's a good chance during this pandemic, as we kind of reevaluate how we're reaching out to people, to look at what our club goals are as a Let's see, Kelly, I'm sure Kelly can get the, oh, yes, we can get you the PowerPoint. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. But you do want to know what your club goals are. So the next slide.
So as you're evaluating your club's members and you're knowing what's important to your club, and do you have people involved in certain areas that could stand up and be a champion for those things, such as what Jackie was talking about, that gives you a purpose. It's really important when you're looking at fundraising that you have a purpose for what you're doing. You know, sometimes in the past, I'm with the Rotary Club of Casper and we do a duck derby. And we've always communicated that those funds are for local projects and not necessarily communicated it's for a specific project. We would put that money away and we would do a lot of different things. But in the middle of a pandemic, it's really important. Your audience, your community, their minds are pulled in so many different directions. It's really important to be purposeful and to be specific in what you are doing. And so you might need to do a little course adjustment as you're looking at the purpose of your fundraiser. It's really important to name that goal. Right now, what a lot of people are really interested in doing is reaching out and helping people in their community or people across the world. They want to know that if I'm going to be donating to this event, I want to know that it makes a difference. So this is an opportunity to really be able to name your goal, let your community know exactly what you're doing. That doesn't always have to be local. So in a few minutes, we're going to talk about something we recently did here in Casper that's for the polio, End Polio Now campaign. But really, it's important to communicate what you do makes a difference. Next slide.
And so as we talk about you're having a goal, you also want to kind of evaluate your community itself. Because as Lisa and I were talking before we came here, is that there are different sizes of communities, different sizes of clubs, and different needs. And one of the things to look at is how has your community's needs changed during this pandemic? Who is in the most need of your help? What I found is that the suicide rates have actually gone up. So we have a lot of suicide risk. Meals on Wheels has needed extra help because we have a lot of seniors that are locked up and they're not able to get out, go to the senior citizen house, go and see their friends. And so they need somebody to come by, not just for the meal, but to visit with them. Know your why. It keeps going back to that, knowing what it is that you're going to be, who is in the most need. And so as you evaluate how you're going to use your fundraising funds, look at what the needs are in your community. We did talk about sweat equity is important, getting out there and actually doing, but a lot of this does need the money behind it. So don't, one of the things, especially as young women, it's kind of hard sometimes to ask for the money, but know that the money is still out there and just find it and work with your community. But again, look at who is in the most need during this time. Next slide.
So knowing your community, knowing your champions in your club, and knowing that you may need to adjust your approach and giving people the opportunity to make an impact now. Here's an example of what we did here in Casper. We just recently held our 21st annual Duck Derby. It looks totally different than any Duck Derby we've ever done before. We did it as a virtual event. We encouraged people to not get together and gather, which was a big part of what we've done in the past. We communicated very clearly. I mean, it was kind of understood. The reason for that was to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. However, we didn't operate on assumptions. We communicated that with people that we were looking to be respectful of the pandemic, that we wanted to work with our community's health department and to be good leaders and demonstrate how a person can move forward and still do things and yet do so respectful of the current climate. So what we did in our club is we were very purposeful about what are we going to do with our funds this year. We do have a major local project coming up, but we decided rather than using all of those funds strictly for that, as a club, our immediate past president, John Griffith, decided it would be great if we had an immediate impact on the needs in our community that were very current, very relevant, and largely because of the coronavirus. So we decided that we would give a percentage of our net proceeds to some local nonprofits. We were very aware as we were moving forward with our fundraiser that not everybody can do fundraisers this year. And so these nonprofits that we selected, and they're up here on your screen, they were impacted because their nonprofit fundraisers were not going to happen. So we knew that their income was down, and yet their needs were rising. A lot of people were in a dire straits, if you would. So what we did is we decided to share, give them a proceeds of our profits, but we made a big deal about it. I mean, everywhere, I think, everywhere you looked with Duck Derby 2020 in Casper, Wyoming, you would see that proceeds are going to, and we would list who was going to be receiving. It allowed our community the opportunity to know, I'm going to participate in this Duck Derby, I might win a prize, I'm really giving money for local projects, but my dollars are going to Food for Thought or Mimi's House or to the Wyoming Foundation for Cancer Care or the Platte Rivers Trails Trust. And we selected these organizations by member vote. So all of our members nominated organizations, and then we voted, and these are who we settled on. So it was really impactful to our fundraiser. Next slide.
Let's see. I'm forgetting which one was the next slide. Oh, this is the Together We Stand. And so one of the things that I really stress is partnerships, and it's very important. What Lisa was talking about before, and she'll talk about it again, is that as you join forces and you identify which charities are specifically going to be benefited from your fundraising, you can also join forces with them, get them to volunteer, get them to get outreach to their people and let them know that, hey, we're out here, we are doing our Duck Derby for Mimi's, we're doing our Duck Derby for this purpose, and some of the funds are going this direction. And you can also join forces with other clubs. That's something too, as you start reaching out and looking and seeing that perhaps you have a common goal, a common theme that you want to do, and then you join the forces and you can expand and reach more people. So it really is true. Partnerships are stronger. I always think of that twig story. You know, in one twig you can easily break, but you bound them together and you cannot break those twigs. So this is an important thing about the going back to the power of collaboration. Lisa.
Yes, next slide. So collaboration is important, and this is a great opportunity for us to remind you, we are all doing fundraisers. We are all reaching out and impacting our communities. And it's great for us to share those opportunities with each other. So through all of this, our club had a golf tournament. Maybe you're a golfer. Maybe you could, enter somebody else's golf tournament. Or maybe you just share their information because in your circle of influence, maybe you have 5 friends that are golfers that will be going to another community and could participate. This is a great opportunity, not just to look for other clubs in your community that you can collaborate with, but a way to reach out and support other Rotary clubs in our district. And I know that you've probably all seen from Kelly, she will share some information. So I haven't been really good about that, but in putting this together, I realize as we move forward as our club, I'm going to be sharing that information with Kelly and asking her to get that out to you. And she will do that. It's just it's a really great way to move forward together. So next slide. And as you're moving forward and you're looking at your events, maybe you've done something and there's been a historical way that it's been done and it can't happen that way this year. Whatever you do, don't just cancel. Maybe you just totally reimagine the event. So last year, the Rotary clubs here in Casper, so that's the 5 Trails Rotary Club, Reveille Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of Casper, and our Rotaract. The presidents last year all got together and put together a Pines for Polio event. It was a blast, and we were really looking forward to that to being an annual event, kind of almost a pub crawl kind of thing. It was an adult fundraiser, and it was really a lot of fun. So we come around, it's time to do something for polio. We can't really do the same event because of social distancing the optics of doing something like that, and truly not really being safe and not being wise leaders in our community. We totally reimagined what can we do this year that's different. So we did a fun run. We had part of it was a color run for the kids. It was short. We put it together in, gosh, I think less than a month by the time we got our champions for the clubs identified. We moved on it rather quickly. Afterwards, we had a socially distanced social, inter-club social opportunity. But we kind of marketed this as a way to get out of the house, burn off some energy in a way that you can do so with doing this social distancing. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. In fact, it was so much fun looking into the future. We're saying, you know what, next year, assuming the world gets turned on its axis correctly again, we want to look at doing a Pints for Polio and a fun run. So through this, we discovered by reimagining what we were doing for polio, we have found that there's another event that we can do. Next slide.
And that leads perfectly into catch and hold the imagination. We want people to have fun, stay safe, and stay connected. There's so many great ideas, and Lee so graciously gave us a link actually to some where they're gathering up ideas from all different districts in the country. So if you go to zone 2627/virtual-library/, you'll find all this information on there and some great ideas, including like organizing a hike for a cause with a lunch, virtual paint lessons, a lot of emphasis on virtual events, and 10,000 step challenge, get a pledge for the number of days you commit to walk 10,000 steps. I mean, this is stuff kids do, but it really does raise money. We saw someone walking the other day. We were wondering, are they walking for a cause? It's stuff that you can do today and you can do safely, regardless of where your community is in the social distancing or in getting together. You could do so many different ideas. And the most important thing, especially for Rotary, is to stay connected. We need to be connected to our membership, be connected to our communities. So have a community-wide scavenger hunt, have individual activity sponsorships like the 10,000 steps, but where you're like, okay, sponsor this person, or do a virtual cook-off. There's so many different ideas out there. And what your goal is to do is catch and hold the imagination, and like the Casper Club do, re-envision how you can raise money, connect to the communities, and just be there for them. Next slide.
So anytime you're looking at fundraising, and that is quite a fun list of things that you just shared, Jackie. I will admit I didn't go on to that link yet, but you've inspired me. I'm going to do that. A community-wide scavenger hunt sounds like a blast to me. But as you're looking at your fundraising, no matter if it's now during a worldwide pandemic or when it's not, fundraising should be engaging. It should be something that's fun for your community. And every community has its own unique dynamics. And so what works for one community may not work for another. But being in this general region, I think that we can all say that most of us, an outdoor event is a fun fundraiser. We live in a beautiful part of the United States, and it's great to capture on that. Your fundraising should be interesting. It should be creative, and particularly now, creativity is key in a successful fundraising. It should be meaningful, and that goes back to what I said earlier about people right now are really concerned about their neighbors or about themselves. We have people who have lost jobs, who are concerned about family dynamics, who are concerned about food, about shelter. And, our communities are facing a lot. And so having a meaningful fundraiser that addresses as much of that as you can. We can't fix everything. But target and be purposeful about something that you can change as a club, and then communicate that. And then again, I talked earlier about as people right now are wanting to help each other and help their communities, and they're concerned about businesses. being able to produce some fairly instant results is very impactful for that person who gives. I don't know that even people realize that they're looking for that. I did a lot of research leading up to this presentation, and it shows, you know, in addition to the depression and the isolation that Jackie alluded to before, is that as people are giving, and we live in a part of the world that people do give, and we're very fortunate that people are so caring, they don't realize that they really want to see results of their generosity. So these 5 bullets are really important as we're looking at fundraising anytime, but especially right now. Next slide.
And one of the things that caught me was that when Lisa had mentioned engaging, is that the other important thing to do is engage by re-engaging. And by this, reevaluate, and I can't stress that enough, is it is important to go back, because there's a lot of times when you're doing a fundraiser time after time and you have the same benefits, the same people, but perhaps their needs are not as great now, or maybe it's time to kind of reevaluate the whole world as a whole and see what it is that your club themselves, get your club members involved in the process. Do something as simple as picking up a phone, reach out to those rather than just relying on emails. We do have club members that we joke that we know that they would never be on the internet, and the only way to let Jerry know is to give him a call. And that goes for everyone, because not everyone will read their emails, or if they do, they can quickly forget. But a personal phone call is so important, just to reach out to them, let them know that you're there, and hey, we're looking at new fundraising ideas. Ask them for their insight. Get the ownership over the fundraiser, because sometimes what happens is it's 1 or 2 people that are working on the fundraisers. Try to get everyone involved. Try to at least, and if not everyone, at least a larger percentage, or maybe you'll find 1 or 2 people that have been waiting in the wings and they're too shy to come up and say, hey, I have an idea. Go to them, ask them for their ideas, and get their input. But just continue to engage and re-engage. Next slide.
And so as you're doing that, you're actually, as a club leader or a club member, you're doing 2 things. You're setting the path for a fundraiser, but you're also helping the dynamics of your club right now, because as fundraising is a struggle right now because of the pandemic, so is being connected as a club. I know that club leadership everywhere probably joins me in the concerns of, if you're not meeting face-to-face, or if you're doing something hybrid, are we engaging our members in a way that they feel valued and important to the club and to the community? And so that engagement piece that Jackie just addressed really is accomplishing several things at the same time, and it's really key to so many different things. But communication is really an important part of everything. You know, you hear the importance of communication at work, you hear about the importance of communication in your club, you hear it about in a family or in a relationship. Communication is key to everything. And so it is with fundraising. So it's really important that you get your message to your audience. So going back to remembering your why, you also have to remember your who. So who is your audience? So your first audience is your club. So you've reached out, you've engaged with them, you've asked them for their input, you've asked them for ideas, you've identified some champions, and you've selected a cause. And now what you need to do is communicate that to your club. Really important to remember that not everybody is at the table when you're making these decisions to move forward. And yet we need to make sure everybody is completely aware and understands what the club is doing for their fundraiser, why they're doing it, and what's going to happen with those funds. And so communication can be as simple as announcing it at your meeting. It can be sharing it with email. It can be recording a short video and shooting that out to your club. Communication happens ahead of time and it happens at the end. And after you've communicated with your club, then of course you get the word out to your community. Next slide.
And so some of the ideas that we're looking at is that you could do even flyers, press releases, PSAs, websites, social media, and share throughout your Rotary district. And this is an idea that came from Lisa that I loved, is to provide the organizations you support, such as you're doing Mimi's. So let them know and let them get the template out that you use so that your message is consistent, and require them to commit to marketing your fundraiser. I just thought that was a great way to partner up with them and to keep the message consistent. Next slide. And the other thing that we're looking at is to keep it simple. Remember the elevator pitch. I love bullet points, and so you'll notice that in this PowerPoint, there's a lot of bullet points, but they're easy to read, they're easy to remember, and it's easy to choose what the most valuable information to you will be. So always first choose your mission, select a message, and bullet point your media plan. And keep it simple, because when you start complicating things, then that's when stuff doesn't get done, because it gets too complicated, too big, and you're not able to complete the mission. So again, keep it simple and read those bullet points. I can't stress enough, because when you have long paragraphs and too complicated, you're gonna lose your audience. Next slide.
So following the keep it simple theme, you see here in front of you, a lot of people are just going virtual, but as you make a change, as you're adjusting your fundraisers or perhaps creating a new one, you don't really need to overthink it. Just make a plan and enact on that plan. Next slide.
So the next one that we're going to talk about is when you do think about what event you're going to do or how you're going to get the word out, another way of keeping it simple is just to pick one idea. Here's a few, you could do a virtual duck derby, an online raffle, 1,000 steps, 10,000 steps, the flamingo ideas, when you put a bunch of pink flamingos in someone's yard and put a sign up there that to get these flamingos removed, they have to pay $100 or whatever the fine is to this event. And you just take the one idea and have fun with it. And I guess I can't stress enough about the simplicity, because I've seen too many things where you get a lot of people, a lot of ideas, and nothing happens. So agree to pick one thing to move forward with and do the best you can with that one thing. And next slide, and this is all you, Lisa, because again, this is important in the pandemic, to move quickly.
It is important to move quickly. So you've made a change, you've decided what you're going to do, and you need to get that word out. So as you reimagined your event, you don't have to worry about sitting down and spending a month to get the branding for that event just exactly perfect. What you need to do is get the word out, because you can go back and make adjustments. I mean, you want to have a concise plan, but you don't have to nail down every detail. Really what you want to do is provide a way for your community members to be able to be involved in your event, to make a donation or contribution in some way, and to see a return on their investment. And when I say moved quickly, what I don't mean is it's not rushed. So quickly is still purposeful. You've still got your champions together, and you have your mission, and you have your purpose, and you have your goals, and you have your plan, but then you need to take action. So it's not that you're rushed. It's not that it's unplanned. It's simply that you make a decision and you move on. Next slide.
And what we're going to do is show you one example of picking one item. So Facebook Live, this is one new skill, and you just do it. Don't overthink it, because I know personally from personal experience, I did overthink it. Facebook Live seemed really intimidating, but one of the things you'll find that if you pick up your phone, which most of us have, and you have the Facebook icon on there, you go to Facebook, and the very first thing under there is the live button. And this live button makes it easy. You just push that, and then you can type in a title if you want, and then all of a sudden you're live streamed on Facebook. And what's really cool is Facebook wants to encourage more live videos, so they will bump you up in the Facebook newsfeed. The algorithms that they use are always confusing, but using live video bumps you up so more people will see it. And it's really fun because you'll actually see who's viewing you live. And you can do this not just for the event itself, but also to announce your fundraiser, to get live testimonials, host a live drawing leading up to your actual event, feature your speakers. If you have some big celebrity or even a little celebrity like your duck in the duck costume, introduce them, do some fun, just live events, and don't strictly keep it just to the events. Get your base used to going online, used to seeing you guys live. And so when it comes to time to do the event, you're already ready to go and you can announce your winners in live time. Lisa has a great story that she's going to share about Facebook Live and the benefits. And, go ahead, Lisa, tell them your story.
I'm going to make it really quick because I'm looking at the clock and I know that we're fixing to be joined by our special guest. So we did our duck derby and we decided that we would hire a drone to come in and film this event. It was a virtual event and that was a great idea and I'm glad we invested in that. But it wasn't what we needed to be able to engage our community. The drone footage was so long that it had to be edited. It wasn't even up on our site until 3 days after the event was over. So just having your camera and doing that live video is so important. So next slide really quickly. And staying connected is important. I talked about connecting with everybody up front, but connecting with them at the end when the event is over to demonstrate what the results were and how that impacts your community is important. So one of the things that we have done so far in our club is we did some really big check presentations to those people that benefited from our fundraiser. And next, I'm hoping to get some video testimonials from each one of those organizations to say, here's how your funds helped Food for Thought. Here is how your funds helped Mimi's House. And each one of those. And that way we can continue to tell that story to our community. And I think that it makes it even more impactful for those who contributed. So that gives us maybe a minute and a half. I don't know if there are any questions that popped up. Alvin, do we have any questions for us? I'm not hearing Alvin. I'm just looking over here right now. So I will just say to kind of wrap it all up, and Jackie, you may have a word or two as well, but don't be afraid of fundraising through a pandemic. And don't be afraid of fundraising at all, because what we do is we are opening opportunities, as we are opening opportunities through Rotary, let's open those opportunities to our communities so that they can pitch in, they can contribute, and then demonstrate to them how they have helped you as an organization change their community, impact their state, their region, and their world. So District Governor Chris, I guess, unless Jackie, you have something, thank you for letting us speak to you all today and enjoy the rest of this virtual assembly.
Thank you, President Lisa and past President Jackie. What a fabulous presentation. Absolutely awesome. You guys did it. You knocked it out of the park. Thank you.